Coming to you live from the Artist Studio, I'm Will with Gaptooth Network, Gaptooth Television, and our guest today is a fashion designer, free thinker, and above all, a good friend of ours, whose collections have been worn and modeled at events, and he's took time out of his busy, professional schedule to be with us today. So let's welcome in BREALIEN.
What an intro. Was not expecting that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
You are not lying. I do have a busy schedule. I got a few different things I'm working on right now. Some things I got to keep quiet. Some things I'm working on that, could be public, but it's better just to work in secret, you know what I mean?
Well, it looks like you've really turned this small space into an artist studio, and I'm thoroughly impressed. And honestly, looking at myself like, you know what? I need to be more creative with my space.
And that's the thing, too, because I live with my mom. So when I first told her about the idea for my room, because I wanted every wall painted something different, just to, keep me, sporadic. It's a big self-expression of me. So my sister, she's like, oh, I want my room all white. I want white comforters. I want white all this. I'm like, okay, that's solid. That's cute for, a living room. Go ahead, do that. Telling my mom the whole thing. She's like, I don't know about all that. So we had the housewarming, maybe last year, and all her coworkers came. My family came. They all came to see my room. If you go downstairs, it's all country themed. My fault. Wood everywhere, red checkerboard, all that good shit. And then you come into my room, you just see the whole big ass difference. I got the leopard print on this wall, oozing slime wall here, movie posters here, the color theory wall over there. It's just a whole lot of things going on, and everyone just be like you painted all this yourself? I'm like, yeah, I was dedicated. I wanted something. I knew that it was going to be better for me to have something that is other than just white walls, because I associate white walls with being in a mental asylum and being just enclosed. So it just makes it feel like it's a whole lot more than what it is in here.
So, about that collection you was talking about, Justin. Any little sneak peeks you can kind of give us?
There is a dress that I'm working on right here for a future shoot coming up in maybe 1 or 2 weeks with the model I've been working with. So I got something on there for her. I got another shoot planned on with her for that. And then pretty much everything has just been commissioned lately. That's what I've been noticing a lot and what I kind of miss. Because before, I had the freedom to work on what I wanted to. The only problem I really ever had with was figuring out what size to make something, so that way I kind of have a clear person in mind. But with having commissions, I have that person in mind. I know what size to make it. I know how to do it. But I kind of lose that freedom of, I want to make this for you, instead of the person coming up to me and it's okay, I want this. I want it to be just like this. Oh, I have this picture. I want you to do it like that. And it kind of just takes away the artist's freedom. I'm yeah, I can do it. It's about a bag. But I'm more about creating something more unique before about a bag. So it's just trying to find that equilibrium of how can I make something that's mine, that I can say I made 100%, but it's also what the person wants. So I feel with this dress right here that I'm working on, it's that perfect equilibrium.
So I noticed that, you have your sewing machine in here. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of fabric laying around. I see zippers. I see a whole bunch of cloth, How important is it for you as an artist and as a fashion designer to be hands-on with your craft and understand how to make your own things, as opposed to making something in your mind, drawing it out, and then having someone else make it? You make everything yourself. You conceptualize an idea from your head onto paper, and then you physically go out and get that. So explain more of that process and how it's important to you.
So ever since I've known that I wanted to create a business in fashion, I knew that it was important for me to know the ins and outs of not just the business, but how to make the garments myself. So I see with a lot of people, whenever they want to first start their whole business, they automatically go with t-shirts and sweatpants, hoodies. And I'm not knocking it at all, because I did the same thing with my last show. I did a couple little hoodies here and there, along with the pieces that I've sewn together. But it's important for me because I want to be able to say, as a black man, I did all this by myself. And when it comes down to me being able to hire other sewers and other pattern makers onto it, I can say I taught myself how to do this. So I don't want to hear I can't do this, I don't know how, because I literally have to teach myself or taught myself from scratch. So from me going on YouTube videos, me doing trial and error, me taking apart clothes that I was really wearing and then reassembling them to figure out what the stitching pattern is, me having to buy my own machine, me borrowing other people's machines, is just like I put all this work into figuring out my craft and how to really work it. So if you're going to come onto my team, I really need you to know what your craft is, work it, or if you're trying to learn mine, then really sit down, be a dry sponge, and let me just put the drip on you real quick, and just soak it all up.
Okay.
So,
in doing client work and doing commissions more so, what you've been doing, how do you think that transition is from creating a runway show compared to making individual pieces?
So that's a good question. Because when it comes down to making a runway show, it's me having to sell. I'm not going to say myself because that's not at all what it is. It's me having to sell the pieces that I made and being like, okay, this is what I made, y'all. Like, picture where you can wear this at, picture who you would give this to, see how I'm styling it, see who I put it in, see if they have like, the drip, the swag to it, to really like, sell the garment. But if it's like something like custom made, where someone comes in, I consult them, I'm just like, what are you looking for? What's the occasion? Like, can I measure you right now? If they're far away, I just ask for like their jean bust and waist size, their height, simple things. So when it comes down to a runway show, it's me really having to sell the idea of what I pictured in my mind and having the piece all together, like the things I was looking at, the music I was looking to, who I pictured in mind, even down to what skin tone looks right with certain fabric, because a lot of people overlook that, and if it's going to overwhelm the model or if it's going to like really take them in. So it's really trying to be inclusive, making sure that everyone doesn't feel excluded and everyone on the contrary feels included as to what I'm making, so they can really picture like, yes, you see something on this runway that you can see yourself in, but don't ever hesitate to come to me. So if I'm saying it in an easier way, runway shows are pretty much just like the open door for people to come to me with their own ideas, and then I can like branch that off, unless they see something on the runway and it's like, okay, I like that, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just make a size real quick. It's not gonna take much long. I always tell people like, give me like at least a month, cause like I do work on some things that take maybe like a week or so, but I never want to say to people like, oh, I can finish it in a week, because my weeks are always completely different. So I don't want to tell someone, oh, I can do it in 5 days. In actuality, if I had nothing to do in 5 days, I can finish it. But something could come up like I need to go get something at the fabric store, or I'm out with friends for like, a couple days because I really need to like recoup and rethink and re-energize. Sometimes it could just be like I need to clean my workstation because I have too much going on and I just can't find shit. So it just be like, give me about a month, I can give it to you. And I always tell people the more time the better, because you're just going to get better quality, better stitching, better fabric choices, even more fabric choices sometimes. So it just all works out in the end.
What material do you enjoy, I would say, working with the most? And where is your favorite store or your favorite online place to go find your fabric? Like, where does your, I'm not trying to tell you to reveal any of your secrets, but give us a little.
I can give you that. So I frequent Joann's only because it's close to me. When I was first starting out, my store of choice was Hancock. So I would go to Hancock all the time, pick out their cotton fabrics first, because I know that it's easier to like move with and I can get like really practice my sewing with. But then once they went out of business, it was me living in Vallejo having to go to El Cerrito to go to the Joann's out there. And I don't know about every other person, but I was not up for that drive all the time, and then on top of it having to pay toll. So when we moved to Vacaville, it just made it that much easier that the Joann's is over there at the plaza. So I just go over there, and when it comes down to like my fabric of choice, it's not necessarily like I'm always gonna go to a knit, I'm always gonna go to a polyester, I'm always gonna go to a tweed, I'm always gonna go to tulle, sheer, spandex blends. It's more so that I'll see a fabric for what it looks like. If I like the pattern, I like the pattern. If I like what it's doing, like visually, I'll go to it. But I always do a skin test. So the skin test to me is I'll put it on the back of my hands and I'll go like this with it. And if it just feels like rough on my skin or just uncomfortable, then I know that I'm not going to make nothing out of that, because at the end of the day, I'm not the person that's wearing these clothes. It's someone else that is. So if I have any uncomfortability with it in that 15 seconds that I'm testing it out, then I know someone that has it on their skin all day is going to just feel completely uncomfortable. So I always do a skin test with whatever fabric I plan on working with, and then I just go from there. So I never really discriminate with my fabrics, because you can see on the mannequin right here, I have something totally sheer, and it's more than likely a polyester spandex blend because it stretches so well and it breathes so easy. But underneath it is what you can probably see but can't really tell, is that it's latex underneath it. And the lining of the latex just feels so nice on the skin that I know that the person who's wearing this is going to feel comfortable in it, even though it's like practically skin tight and has ruching and ruffles in it. So it's all about, does it feel right on the skin first, and then I can just go based off that.
For sure. You said you grew up in Vallejo.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up in Vallejo, what would you say your first experience with fashion was, or like who or what kind of sparked that interest to kind of make you want to look more into it and, you know, ultimately find, you know, a passion for it and start creating?
So I think everyone knew about me just based off my fashion sense that clothing was an interest of mine. Like if I'm talking specifically about a specific moment, I can say when I won best dress in my high school yearbook, one of three things. I don't need to toot my own horn, but yeah.
Toot it up.
I won best dressed in that, so that kind of like fueled, like, you know, let me go ahead and like really dive deep into what my fashion sense is and really figure out how can I best figure out my style, my aesthetic, and really like push that forward. But I really put it all into one person specifically. So when I was in high school, my English teacher, her name is Mrs. Hodges. We did a couple projects that had to deal with fashion, and you know that's kind of easy to me. Me having a grandmother that was very super into clothing and jewelry. My mother being very tight point on what her fashion choices are. My aunt, me being able to see how my uncle dresses as a black man and figuring out, okay, I see how a black woman dresses, I see how she coordinates, but how can I coordinate that into a black man, and how does he put that together? Seeing that in my uncle. My dad consulting me about, okay, we used to wear this in the 80s. I see that fashion right now is recycling itself. So he'll kind of give me like the 1-2 on what was going down in like his era of fashion and what was in, what was not. And surprisingly enough, between those conversations with me and my dad, I would see literally like, okay, like for instance, he told me that racer suits, everyone was wearing those, like the ones that you'll see on NASCAR and stuff with the logos and everything, skin tight, more than likely with like pleather, leather, or you know, some type of latex on. Boom, I see that, everybody wearing that. Even Rihanna, she did one where she was in the desert for one of her collections, and that was going on around that time period. So that, seeing that let me know that I really need to take these people who are into my life, who are telling me things a little bit more serious than what I would even consider. Because me being a tourist, I can just easily be stubborn and just stick to my own things. But I think between myself and my other signs that I have, I kind of like at least leave a leeway, an ear hole in to where, okay, I'm gonna hear you out. But Mrs. Hodges was the one that was like, you know, you could do fashion as a career, right? And I looked at her like you mean to tell me you have everyone talking about they want to be teachers, doctors, lawyers, they want to be chiropractors, they want to be hair technicians, they want to be all types of shit. And you're just now telling me in my senior year that I can be a fashion designer and that's like a career. So her telling me that, and then her pointing me where to go, what to look at, the school, different schools to look at, it kind of like led the whole thing like, okay, I can really do this. But one thing about me, I did not want to go to school. It was just something that I peeped in high school that I didn't like about the learning in my specific learning style that wasn't being met at. And I know college is different, but it was just, I just hate structured learning. So I remember after high school, I gave myself a goal. If I'm not doing anything with my fashion career and really like making myself self-made, and I was looking at different people who I've been following for like a good while that they've made themselves self-made, so I know that it wasn't anything impossible to do. It was just up to my own willpower. So I gave myself a time period in order to be like, okay, you need to do this, figure out this. If you're not doing anything within these 2 years, then school needs to be an option. So I remember I started my hat collection that still people ask for to this day. And it's not that I don't want to do it, it's just when you grow as an artist, you see kind of where your ills are at. So you always want to be able to fix those certain things. So until I know that I can create the same hat in better quality and make it look polished, then I'm not going to release it. But it is something that's been on my mind for a while. Because my target market is women right now. But I've heard a lot from the men's side of things. And also, I don't want to exclude them because they're women too, but plus size women too. I've heard their concerns when it comes down to the fashion industry. And I've been taking all that into account while I'm working on what I'm doing for women first, especially black women too. So I'm making sure that I get everything, my I's dotted, my J's dotted, my T's crossed, my H's crossed, my S slithered, all the other good shit. So I'm trying to make sure that everything's right with them to where I could branch out and be like, okay, I know how to do this. I've done that here. All of this is just tweaking it to where it fits there. So bringing it back, my fashion show I did with Trap Art was like one of the few times I was able to really see a genuine artist reaction to the clothing that I picked out and the music that I picked out. Because mind you, I did the music myself, mixed all that together, and then did the clothing myself, and picked the models myself, and really talked to everyone. So that was like the one true time, other than like me being a step coach, where I was able to really see my creative expression really on stage and really see how people react to that. So that at that point it had been 4 years. So within those 4 years, even though I gave myself a little bit of leeway because I seen that I was at least going to what I wanted to do. So that was the mark. That's when I was going to be able to be like, okay, if people are not fucking with this, then you need to give the rest, because people will tell you when you suck. Your friends and family will be like, okay, you know what, keep working here, keep working there. They'll gas you up. But when it's like complete strangers, they'll tell you straight the fuck up, yo, you're whack, hang it up. So the fact that I was able to get good reception to it, and I even had a couple people ordering, it was letting me know that, okay, like, I got something going here. So let me, like, just keep on going and figure it out.